Hey, he gave her like the perfect day in Paris, kissing on the Eiffel Tower, everything. And she was happy to do it because she wanted, to get that memory out of her head because it was just awful. And so they wound up leaving out of Paris, of course, the following day. He kept apologizing I can't talk today, profusely to her. But, I mean, she kind of forgave him, but it was still, she was still in a state of shock and, ugh, it was just awful. Get back to the hotel room. She lets him know, I don't want any other man to ever touch me. Like, ever. Like, that cannot happen. I can't do it. And he, of course, agreed because he couldn't take it. It was too much for him anyway. So they're back in the city for a couple of days. Mia goes out to get their lunch, and on her way back, it starts to rain, and she runs into someone, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Looks up, it's Charles. It's the guy that slapped her in Paris. So he grabs her arm, and he grabs it so hard he leaves a mark. And he's like, you're going to get me the bids of the other contenders so that way I can come in under, and then they won't have any choice but to go with me. Because he knew after what happened, Gabe wasn't going to go with his bid. And so she's like, no, she's like, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, oh no, you're going to do it. And so he shows her photos in the phone where he took of both where when she was sucking Gabe, and then also where he was like trying to make her like give him a blowjob. And I'm like, that's kind of stupid. Why the hell would you keep that picture? That looks kind of incriminating on your part, buddy. So she's freaking out now because she's like, oh my gosh, like if he does this, he's like, I'll go public if this doesn't happen. He's like, so you have until Friday. And so she goes back upstairs and she's drenched, and Gabe flies into, oh, you okay, what's wrong, da, da, da. And she doesn't tell him because she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want to do anything to hurt Gabe, but at the same time, if those photos come out, that's not going to be good for either Jace or the business or anything. So she's, she just needs to go home and figure it out. So she goes home. When he gets off, he goes and he can tell she's been crying, but he doesn't understand why. But she doesn't say anything, so he doesn't know like what is going on. So he's like, okay, you need to take another day off and get yourself, together. So she was supposed to take it off, but she's like, no, I need to tell him what happened and, figure out how we can fix it. So she goes to work, and he's pissed because he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I got to talk to you. And so she tells him what had happened the day before. And he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, don't you worry about it. I'm going to take care of it. I got it. Don't worry. And so he goes over to Charles's office. Because Charles he's a massive contractor as well. And so he has places everywhere, Paris, all over the world, Hong Kong, New York. So he's everywhere. So he goes to his office, and as soon as he enters the man's office, he punches him. So then Charles is threatened to like have him arrested for assault, and Gabe's like, sure, go ahead, call him, because you're the one that's going to go to jail, because those photos look like those are the ones where you assaulted her. So yeah, go ahead and do it and see what'll happen. He's like, matter of fact, I'm going to take everything from you, and I'm going to enjoy doing it. And he kind of realized, okay, he's not playing. And then before he left, he punched him again. And so Charles was like, okay, he agreed he wasn't going to release the photos. So then Gabe goes home to Mia, and they have to talk about their relationship, and he tells her, he wants to go public, and that we need to tell Jace as soon as he gets back into town. It's Sunday night, and they're doing a flogging session, and Jace and Ash walk in. How flippin' awful. You're with your dude, okay, even if you're doing like little basic, like if you're just having sex in general, and you're like your brother And like another dude that you see as your brother walks in, that is crazy and embarrassing enough. But he's flogging her. I'm like, you poor thing. So Jace, of course, is furious. He lunges at Gabe and he's just beating the shit out of Gabe. And Gabe won't fight back. And he's just like, everything he's saying was correct. So Jace, of course, knows that, Gabe has certain types of tastes sexually. And he felt like he was forcing Mia to do these things. So it really enraged him because he's like, how could you do this to her? Like, how could you force her to do this? And it was like, he not realizing that this was a whole ass consensual relationship. And so Ash had took Mia to the bedroom, and he was like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. Like, you guys are freaking out about the wrong thing. We're in a relationship. Like, we were going to go tomorrow when Jace got back. We were going to go tell him about the relationship. And Ash is like, oh, that's what's going on. So she goes out there to Gabe and she's like, just tell him the truth. And Gabe won't answer. Like, he has this glazed over, just cold look. And he's like, your brother's right. I'm no good for you. I told you not to fall in love with me. We might as well just end it right now. And she loses it because she's like, everything I've been through, and this is what you do. You're going to be a coward. And so she was furious. So Ash and Jace had to like get her out of there. And she told him, if you want me back, she's like, you're going to have to crawl to get me back. And she held her head up and she got out. She left out. So they get back to her apartment, and she's kind of telling Jace, what happened, that, she wasn't forced or anything like that. Like, we were going to tell you that we were in a relationship. And she was like, I can't believe, like, he wouldn't just tell you the truth. Like, I can't believe he just did that. And so she's upset, and she tells Caroline what happened, as well. And Caroline's like, you know what? Then he's not worthy of you. If he can't fight for you, he's not worthy of you. And so she was, of course, she's not going back to that job. She's like, she'll go and get her old job back at the little pastry place until she finds something else. But this time around, she's not going to hide behind the job at the pastry place. Like, she's really going to, actively put out, resumes to get a real job. But, she does need something to do to kind of keep her mind occupied. So she'll go back and do that. Jason Ash, they're going to take her on a Caribbean vacation for the holidays, just to, get her away, give her some time. And so Ash does tell her, he's like, Gabe looked like hell when we went in the office the next day. And she's like, good. So, Gabe has been like just, beside himself. He knows he loves this woman. He wants to be with her. And he's like, I need to go talk to Jace. And so they have been avoiding each other while at the office. So they haven't communicated since that night. So it's been a few weeks. So Jace goes, Gabe goes into Jace's office, and he's like, listen, I love her, okay? I love Mia. And I want to be with her, and I want to marry her. And if you don't like it, you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with it. And so Jace is looking crazy, like, what? What? And he's like, well, why you didn't say nothing? Basically, he's like, because I felt bad, all the years we've been friends, and I felt horrible about the way that I went about it, but I've wanted her for so long. I just was looking at it as however I got to get her, that's how I'm going to do it. And I should have thought more of our friendship, and I should have came to you. You are right. He's like, but I love her and I can't lose her. And Jason's like, well, you gonna have to crawl to get her back. She meant that. So he's like, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes to get her back. So he starts sending her flowers. He starts popping up at the pastry place. He starts having deliveries sent to her at the while she's at work as well, and then having the messengers read them out loud. He put a billboard up telling her he loved her. Like he was going all out. So she winds up getting sick, and she's on her way home, and she winds up tripping and falling, and she's so weak she has a hard time even getting up. And so Gabe, being the person, I'm like, he was probably stalking that girl anyway. He didn't just arrive. So he's there. He carries her to her apartment, gives her some medicine, takes care of her. And he tells her, he stays the night with her, make sure she's okay. And then he tells her he left a note, and he's like, I'm going to have Jace come and check on you. I left your medicine for you. Love, Gabe. And so she's like, all right. But she missed him, of course, but he was gone now. So then Gabe then goes and tells Jace, hey, I need you to go check on your sister. She's sick. And he's like, well, if she's sick, what the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be trying to crawl back. What are you doing? He's like, listen, I have the ultimate thing I'm going to do, but all I need you to do is take care of her this weekend. He's like, and come Monday, have her at Rockefeller Center. And he's like, okay. So that's what he does. The weekend they go through it. They do movies and everything. Ash comes in and out and brings like deliveries and food and stuff like that. And so Monday comes and they head to Rockefeller Center. And so Mia's just more so thinking like, okay, this is like, Jace used to do this all the time because she likes to see the Christmas lights and things like that. And so she's thinking, oh, we're just kind of going down memory lane. And then the announcer says that, there's someone here who wants to tell Mia Cresswell just how much he loves her. And her head pops up, and then out comes Gabe. And that's when he, lets her know how much he loves her. And he's like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You're it for me. He's like, I'm on my knees. I'm crawling. And so she, of course, says yes. She tells him, I want babies. And he's like, I know, I want babies too. So they wound up together. So they had a nice, cute story all wrapped up in a bow. It was super sweet. That made me happy. So this was the story of Gabe. So our next book is going to be Fever. And Fever is going to focus in on Jace. So I'm going to get that one up for you guys by Monday or Tuesday. And if you need a feel of some other book reviews, I have plenty more. I'm going to put that link in the description box below. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.